Hey everyone, it's your old Uncle Padrino back again with another movie review. But first, let me apologize. I meant to go watch this movie the week of its release, but I didn't because, well, we live in a state where it's that time of year again, where it's the possibility of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. And that night that I was going to go watch this happened to be one of those nights. So I did go watch it the following week. So here's my review of it. So how should we start this? The wisdom of Solomon. The strength of Hercules. I have an action figure now. The stamina of Atlas. The power of Zeus. The bravery of Achilles. And the speed of Mercury. Take the first letters of those names of those gods, demigods, and humans, and you get the word Shazam! And that's who we have here, or Captain Marvel, as he should be known as. Okay, history lesson, all right? Back during the golden age of comics, there was a lot of comic book companies. There was Timely Comics, which would eventually become Marvel. There was DC, and there were a lot of other companies as well. One of those companies happened to be, starts with an F, hold on, Fawcett Comics, who created Captain Marvel. Well, DC decided to seek legal action against them because, well, they felt that Captain Marvel was too much alike their character, Superman. So after it was all said and done, Fawcett basically said, all right, fine, they fell under, and they sold the rights of Captain Marvel and the Marvel family and all of its characters to DC, where it remains to this day. Jump ahead to the Bronze Age, which was about the 60s and 70s, I think. Well, the 60s I know for sure. The 70s, I'm not sure if that's included in that or not. But anyway, Timely Comics has already become Marvel, and, well, they're seeing, well, you're looking at DC, or as Stan Lee would say, Brand X. And, well, they see DC with this character, Captain Marvel. Well, we don't want our brand to be associated with your character, so there's some legal actions, of course. And DC basically says, all right, then, fine. We'll drop the Captain Marvel name and just call him Shazam, and that's been his name ever since then. And of course, me personally, I only called him Shazam when I was a kid, but I started calling him Captain Marvel after I found out all of the legal stuff and all of that went on. That was back during my teenage years, early 20s, basically. So, that led up to, of course, this is the first Captain Marvel, technically. Not Carol Danvers, who is Captain Marvel of present day. And even she's not the real Captain Marvel. She was known as Ms. Marvel at the time. Monica Rambeau was the first Captain Marvel, the first one to use the field name Captain Marvel. So Carol Danvers is not even really the real Captain Marvel, okay? So all that out of the way, let's talk about the movie now. So the first Shazam movie, I thought actually was pretty good. It was nice. It was it was fun. It was different. And I think part of it was because, outside of the Wonder Woman movie, it was a breath of fresh air because of all of the movies that they weren't really the DC movie universe movies weren't very good at that point in time. So this was kind of a welcome sight. It was actually pretty good. I mean, nothing that was going to blow your mind or anything like that. But I mean, and it was all about finding a place where you belong, finding your family, basically. Not, with Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, and Ludacris, and Tyrese, and The Rock, and Jason Statham, and John Cena, and whoever else is in these movies now. So, this movie, the sequel here, actually does basically the same thing that the first movie did. All right. So, I mean, they just raised the stakes a teeny tiny bit more, and it's still about family. Basically Billy Batson, Captain Marvel's alter ego, he has his family now, he has his siblings and his adopted family, I should say. But I think the best way to describe it, he's having abandonment issues, and he doesn't
he wants the family to stay together, he and his siblings to stay together and work together now that they're all superheroes and whatnot. But everybody else is starting to move off into their own separate directions, which is completely understandable. And so he's, afraid of losing his family again, basically. So, again, that's the main thing about this movie. Again, it plays it safe. There are some intense and scary moments in this movie that may frighten little children. The first one did as well, but you know what? Hey, it may not be bad for your kid, but that's your choice. No judgment here. So, as far as this movie goes, there are some cameos. Not the cameo, and one cameo actually surprised me. Not the one that you're probably thinking of. If you watch the commercials and the trailers as of late, you already know what one of those cameos is. But this is a cameo that, and I'm kind of dating myself a little bit probably, but if you're as old as I am or older, you probably consumed a certain media, and the cameo of this person comes from that particular media. Now, I don't know if this media is available on Blu-ray or DVD or not, but unless you consume this particular media, you're not going to know who this person is. But I saw them right away, and I'm like, hey, that's so, whoa, and it kind of surprised me. And it was actually pretty cool, like, oh, okay, cool. But as far as this movie goes, it's really not too bad. As far as the villains go, one of the actors said, they weren't really interested and they really didn't know what it was that they were starring in, but they did it because they wanted the money. And it's like, wow, that kind of sucks. Okay, kind of not something you want to say, but get it. Completely understandable. But overall, they did a good job, in all honesty. Well, the actor that I'm talking about, they did a good job, in all honesty. So, as far as this movie goes, I give it, it depends on how badly you want to watch this movie. I would say I give it a matinee or a full-on admission, full price admission. Again, depending on how badly you want to see it, you may not be interested in it. And it's already been declared a box office flop, basically, just like Ant-Man Quantumania was considered a box office flop as well. And some people are questioning and saying, is this the end of the comic book superhero genre of movies? And my 2 cents, yes and no. Yes, because I think, here's the catch. I think with Marvel, who's the head honcho of all of this, who's been the head honcho of all of this for the past 15 years now, Phase 4 was known as Phase 4. Outside of Spider-Man No Way Home and outside of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, those are the only 2 movies in Phase 4 that actually made a ton of money in the box office. And I honestly think that Doctor Strange was only able to simply because it was falling right on the tail of No Way Home, basically. So, but Phase 4 is known as Phase 4. Now that Quantumania has failed, everybody, and since that was the beginning of Phase 5, that's the movie that's going to that's supposed to start off Phase 5. Everybody is starting to recognize Phase 5 as the Phase 5 dive. So, I think part of that is, I think the thing is, everybody is tired of bad comic book superhero movies. Phase 4 has just been, over the past couple of years, have just been disappointing movies. And plus, you also have them making more content on Disney Plus, which was mediocre or bad as well. So, yeah, people, I think, are getting tired of it, but they're getting tired of the bad stuff. If you put some good stuff out there, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out in a couple of months. Pretty much almost everyone loves the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, okay? There are very few that probably don't, but for the most part, the audience pretty much loves the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. If Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 fails and bombs, then I would be more convinced to say, yeah, this is over. It's done. It's probably time to lay off of this for the next 10 to 15 years and then start all over again, basically. That's just me. But I think I do have faith in that movie, so I think that it'll do very well. But if it doesn't, then I'm willing to bet. Then I'm willing to say, yeah, it's pretty much over. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is, well, DC and Warner Brothers have never been able to get get things straight in managing all of the DC superhero movies that they have. Beyond the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, of course. And they're just under horrible leadership. They've been under horrible leadership over the past several years, and they just don't know what to do. And I really don't think they know what to do, and they really don't care. Outside of Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, outside of Shazam, the first Shazam movie, and even outside of the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, I actually enjoyed that. But outside of those three movies, maybe even Aquaman, maybe even, the first Aquaman, but outside of those movies, they really haven't been knowing what to do with all of this, and they've been constantly shooting themselves in the foot. So because of that, let me start off with this. This past January, James Gunn laid out the plans that they have for the DC the DC movie universe. They have planned out for the next 5 to 10 years, basically. And because of that, all of the past movies from the Zack Snyder universe, they don't count anymore. They don't matter anymore. All right, except for the Flash. And the reason being is because the Flash is basically going to be the conduit to reset everything in the DC movie universe, and it's based off of Flashpoint. If you've never read Flashpoint, read it. In it, the Flash basically resets everything, and thus leads into the New 52 comic series in DC Comics, which was basically a reimagining of all of the DC superheroes and supervillains as if they had been created in present day, kind of like how Marvel did with the Ultimate Marvel Universe back in the early 2000s. So the Flash movie is a must. They need that in order to reset everything and reboot everything. But if most people, I'm willing to bet, after that news came out, it's like, well, why bother watching the Flash? Watching Shazam. There's no reason to watch it because it has nothing to do with what's going to happen in the future now as far as the movies go. Why watch Aquaman 2? There's no reason to. The only movie that matters is The Flash, and the only reason that most people care about that movie is because Michael Keaton as Batman is back in it, and no one cares about the guy who plays The Flash in this movie because he's been in a ton of legal trouble, having a ton of issues. If you don't know, look him up. So that's the only reason they're keeping that movie going, and is to usher in the new DC superhero movie universe, basically. So I think that's also why, and plus the other reason, because of streaming. Okay, if you're not in a hurry to watch this movie, guess what? You can watch it on streaming within the next maybe 2 months, and that's before physical media. So I think that's what the issue is. Everything has its phases and everything has its cycles as far as entertainment goes. What was old then is new now, and what's new now will eventually become old, and the cycle resets itself, and it all starts all over again. It happened with blaxploitation movies, it happened with hood movies, happened with superhero movies back then, happened with martial arts movies, happened with spy movies and James Bond movies, and it happened with westerns. So this is a normal cycle. I think we're nearing the end of the amazement that superhero movies have now, but I think there's still a little bit more that can be squeezed from it. But I also think that it all depends on how the writing is in all of these movies. And again, Marvel Phase 4 is evidence of that. Horrible writing. So, and no one really cares. So again, the measuring point right there for me would be, like I said, if Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy bombs in the box office, I think it'll be safe to say, okay, yeah, it's time to cut this out now. It's done. It's over with. All right. So that's it for this movie review. I'm gonna go right into another movie review right after this. So get the kids out. I'm gonna probably say a few things that they probably shouldn't hear. Nothing too horrible or anything like that, but still, it's probably something that they probably shouldn't hear. All right. So with that, let's move on to the next. Are the kids gone yet? Perfect. All right. So let's talk about John Wick Chapter 4. All right. Now, there are only two names that come to mind when I think of the word vengeance. That's Frank Castle, the Punisher, and John Wick, the guy standing right behind me here. Hopefully he's not here to kill me. Well, if he were, I would already be dead. So I guess I'm in a good spot now. All right. So let's talk about the main character here a little bit. All right. In just about every John Wick movie, there's a character who usually says, when John Wick shows up, people die. And that is so true. This man has a high body count. I mean, one that rivals that of a prostitute that's stuck on an island full of horny, hedonistic men. And that's a high body count. At this point, I'm surprised he hasn't used his resources to buy a thermonuclear bomb and just drop it on people that he has a grudge against. That's how driven he is. I mean, the man is just his lust for vengeance is unquenchable, basically, and understandably so. I mean, his wife gifted him a puppy before she died. They tried and they killed it. They tried to steal his car too, and they left him for dead. I mean, hey, who can blame the man for going on a rampage like Archer would? I like going on rampages. So, as far as John goes, it's almost like, I mean, I'm going to date myself with this reference. I just thought of it. For people who are my age and older, there was a brand of watches called Timex, right? I don't know if that brand is still around or not, but what was that? What was the slogan? Takes a licking and keeps on ticking, right? Which, for all you young people out there, that meant that this watch, you could do anything and everything to this brand of watch. Anything and everything can happen to this brand of watch, and it will still continue to function no matter what. And that's what John Wick is. John is the Timex watch of people. I mean, he's been shot, stabbed, beaten, ran over. He's fallen from great heights and hit the ground or crashed through the roof of a vehicle, and he still keeps on going. And that's considering that he doesn't have any superpowers. So, I mean, this man is practically unstoppable. So that's John in a nutshell. Okay. So, as far as the story goes, this story pretty much picks up where a bit of time after the third chapter, of course. As I mentioned before, that one event that happened in chapter 1 has basically gone from chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. It's been a domino effect, and it's led us all to this point right now, chapter 4. But John has done something very bad. I mean, well, something noticeable, something to get the attention of the heads of the table, not Roman Reigns or the Uso brothers, if you get that reference. But we all know, if you've kept in touch with these movies, if you watched all of these movies, the table is the highest of the high authority over this organization of assassins that John is a part of. Now, that's not to say that they've paid attention to what he has been doing before in the past, but this time, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But this time, though, he's done something big enough to the point to where they're taking notice and they're going, wait a minute. How did this happen? Who's responsible? We need to make them pay, number one. And number two, we need to stop this man because he's getting too far into this. He may get way too far into this. So, John, just like in the past movies, is like a character in a modern video game. He's the main character in a modern video game. He goes off on a series of side quests, complete a series of side quests, complete a series of side quests in order to gain access and to progress to the next level or to the next person. So he's doing things to pay off favors and do things to get back in with certain groups and things like that. So basically that's what this movie is, and just like the past movies. And look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's nice to have a movie that's old school fun, right? Just like Top Gun Maverick last year, just old school fun. It's not deep in thought. It's not. It's not trying to teach you a lesson. It's not trying to send a message. It's not trying to tell you you're bad and you're no good and tear people down, or certain groups of people down to uplift others, things like that. There's no messaging or anything like that, and that's good. We need more movies like that, and the box office for this movie has proven that, along with Top Gun Maverick, along with Creed 3. I mean, so it's good to have movies like this that are mindless and fun and that are action packed, without a message. I mean, and there isn't anything wrong with movies that are, going to teach you a little something, or going to be deep in thought. I mean, going to be thought provoking, I should say. I mean, for example, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish last year. I mean, that was a movie with a message that wasn't spoon-fed, but it was a good message overall as far as the movie go. But it didn't interrupt with the storytelling either. So that's what made it even better. And this is what this movie is. I mean, simple, nothing mind-blowing, anything like that. If you like this type of movies, you'll enjoy this. If you like the last three movies, you'll love this movie. It's very well choreographed. There's lots of ammo and gun porn in it. It's very well shot, no pun intended. There's one scene where John is taking out guys left and right, and it's shot in a way to where it was amazing. I loved it. I never saw it like that before. I saw anything done like that in a movie before, maybe in a video game, but in a movie or in a TV show before. I've never seen that before. So I loved it. It was amazing. So there is a mid-credit scene as well, and there's also a scene at the very end of the credits as well. So you want to stick around for those two. Pretty much not everyone is back, but the main people are back. You got Keanu Reeves, who's back. I'll do it for you, I promise. That's pretty much how he is in the movies. Lawrence Fishburne is back. Ian McShane is back as well. Lance Riddick, who just passed away a couple of weeks ago, he's back in this. So this is going to more than likely be one of his last roles. Donnie Yen is in this. What's his name? Hiroyuki Sanada. He's in this. He was in Bullet Train last year. Bill Skarsgård is in this as well. He plays the main villain in this, and he's a Frenchman. He's not the stereotypical Frenchman either, like bon voyage, bon appetit, qui a coupé le fromage, les oui, les quis, le oui oui, Pepe Le Pew. But he plays a great villain in this. I loved him in this. And we also have the voice of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants, and the voice of Lex Luthor, not Luther, Luthor, from the DC animated universe started by Bruce Timm and his crew way back when. Clancy Brown, he's in this. He has a minor role in this as well. So, as far as this movie goes, like I said, I think you'll enjoy it. If you like the first three, you'll love this one. My wife and I were talking about it after we watched the movie. We went to go watch the movie together, and we were talking about it afterwards, and we thought that the third chapter was the weakest of them all. That's not to say that it was bad, but it just kind of missed the mark in some way, that it just didn't, live up to the others, to the first one, the second one, and now the fourth one. So, but if you liked all of the past three movies, you'll love this one. And so, as far as my rating goes, I highly recommend it. Go watch it. If you like these kinds of movies, of course. If not, don't worry about it. But go watch this movie. Go watch it once. Go watch it twice. Give it your money. Full price admission. Okay? So, that's it as far as this movie review goes. And as far as this episode goes, sorry Stan Lee wasn't around. I mean, he was off doing his own thing. So, the next movie I'll go see, it'll be next month, and I'm really, 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 really very excited about this movie. I can't wait to see it. And it's one of the very, very few movies that I'm looking forward to for this year. It's the Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be awesome. So that's it for now. And I guess see you next time.